guest is Dr. Angela Brooks. Born in the island of Turks and Caicos, she is a wife, mother, author, and Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions. She obtained her bachelor's in sociology at York University in Canada. Thereafter, she acquired her bachelor's of law degree and master's of law degree in international and commercial law with merit from the Buckingham University. Dr. Brooks obtained her bar vocational diploma from the University of the West of England in Bristol, England. That same year, she was called to the bar in England and Wales and was admitted to the Turks and Caicos bar in 2003. She has a doctorate of philosophy in Christian counseling also. Upon returning to the Turks and Caicos Island, she joined the Attorney General Chambers as a Crown Counsel and swiftly climbed the ranks to Senior Crown Counsel. In 2013, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions was established as a separate institution of good governance, and Dr. Brooks was appointed as the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, the first Turks and Caicos Islander in this position. She is the head of the Anti-Money Laundering Unit within her office and is actively engaged in providing training on various areas of law to government. She has a strong passion for working with young people. Dr. Brooks recently published her books, Aaron, A Journey of Love, Loss, and Triumph. She continues to serve her community and make a difference in the lives of the people. Let's welcome Dr. Angela Brooks to Pathways to Success.
Welcome to Pathways to Success. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Hunt, and sitting beside me is my co-host, Shanice, or Shinice, proper pronunciation of her name. And we have back with us for the second time, first in the history of our show, Pathway to Success, we have Dr. Angela Brooks back with us. She kept her word. I remember the first time we interviewed her, she's the deputy prosecutor.
Deputy Director.
Thank you so much. Deputy Director of Prosecution. So
yes.
When we had that interview the first time, she said to us that she's writing a book and she'll be completing a book. Now, lo and behold, congratulations, Dr. Angela Brooks.
Thank you so much.
And I'm so happy to have you back. You've created history on Pathway to Success. How's it been in the Turks Island so far? We're very hot in where we're at in sunny Florida.
It's been hot here in Turks and Caicos as well, but recently we had a lot of rain. But normally when it rains, we are very grateful and thankful because sometimes it gets very dry and dusty. So the rain has been good.
Okay, that's good. That's good to know. What life events caused you to write this book, and what's the topic of your book?
Okay, my book is called Aaron, A Journey of Love, Loss, and Triumph. Importantly, Aaron was our son, and he tragically died on the 12th of May, 2014. So actually this year, Mother's Day made it our 10th year anniversary. And Aaron was born with special needs. But the whole history of his birth and delivery is like a story all by itself. I wouldn't delve too deeply into that, but he had special needs in that he used to suffer with seizure activities. Aaron was a child that he never walked, he never talked, he never sat up, he was not independent. He was totally reliant and dependent on us. We found out later that he suffered oxygen deprivation while I was pregnant with him. And that itself is a medical issue, and that's another story. But on Mother's Day, 2014, my husband, Desmond, got up as normal to make a regular check to see how Aaron was doing, because he normally did that through the night. And my life changed right there. Like, he came back running to the room, telling me to call 911. And when we ran down to his room, we met Aaron lying on his face, unresponsive. I cannot express into words like the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, like the tears were flowing in from my eyes like rivers. And he was telling me to call 911. And because I was crying so much, my phone screen, it was wet. And I I was just overwhelmed, but I eventually got through to 911 and they gave us directions on how to administer CPR, etc. We didn't know at that time Aaron had already transitioned, but in our minds, we wanted him to be alive. The ambulance came, took him away, and I was left home because we had other children. So Desmond went with the ambulance with him. And I sat in my house along with the other children, waiting and waiting and waiting for a response because I told them, immediately let me know what was happening. And it felt like eternity, but perhaps it was an hour or so when my mom came here with my sister and brother, and they told me the news that Aaron didn't make it. Well, from that day to this, it has been a journey. My life has never been the same. But what I did was when Aaron passed away so tragically, so quickly, I mean, without notice, he wasn't sick. We didn't know of anything out of the ordinary that was happening with him. What I did was I just covered up everything. I covered up all my emotions, my feelings, because honestly, I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't want to know how to handle it. Actually, the day that Aaron died, I wanted to have his funeral the same day because I couldn't emotionally handle the trauma. And when we did have his homegoing service, my criteria was my only stipulation was if you wanted me to come to the service, you have to remove the casket out of the church and put it in the hearse because I am not coming to the church to witness and to see my son lying off in a casket. And so that's what they did. They did everyone came, they did what they had to do. But when it was time for me to come, they took the casket out with him and they put it in the hearse and we had the homegoing service. So over the years, what happened was I just masked my pain. I wouldn't talk about the incident. I pretended as if everything was fine. When persons would talk about Aaron, I excused myself from the conversation. When persons would ask me, how am I doing? I was like, how we do. We just grin and we say, okay, we are fine. And we just move on. And can I tell you, like over the years, like I felt this ball growing in my chest. And it was grief, anxiety, I mean, pain. It was everything because prior to Aaron's death, I lost my uncle who was like a father figure to me. And I did the same thing with him. And you would think that I would have, learned and done better, but I didn't. And so when I decided to pursue my PhD in Christian counseling, a part of my courses that I did, it talked about a lot of my classes was about healing damaged emotions. And I had a class on trauma and all these classes that caused me to examine. I was forced to examine my feelings because I had to write papers about these things because they are saying to me, how are you going to counsel persons who come to you as a counselor who have these kind of emotions and feelings? And so I had to write papers on these things, and our classes were so open and it felt like a safe space. So eventually I started talking about it, and it was like I felt like a relief. It was like, back here in the Caribbean, when you're cooking like a pot, like a soup pot, and you have the lid on it. And when the pot reaches a certain temperature, the steam begins to seep out from the sides. And that's how it felt for me. Like when I started talking about my emotions and my pain and how I felt and how I was hiding, how I truly felt, it was like steam escaping from the pot. But it felt good in the end. And then I realized to myself, you know what? I really need to heal. I really need to let all these emotions out. I got to get rid of this. And that's how the journey of writing the book began. But can I tell you, it was not like, okay, I said, I'm going to write the book and that's it. It took me, I was on your show, I think last year, May 2023. And I said that I'm writing this book. It took me 2 years to complete the book because it was so painful. The book was it was really raw. Emotionally, it was really raw and heart wrenching. And I had to relive um, a lot of experiences with Aaron in the hospital and all those different things that I really wish would, like, I would have amnesia about. Like, I don't want to relive it. And when I was writing the book and we had to proof the book and go over certain things, I didn't want to do that. Like, I read it probably twice. But if you've written a book before, you have to go over it so many different times. And I got to the point where I said, I'm just going to leave it in the publisher's hands. I'm going to, you guys read it over, because it brings back so much painful memories. But at the end of the day, writing the book was therapy for me, because it really freed me emotionally from the chains of despair, anger, confusion, grief. And so the book is not only about losing a child, but it's for anyone who is going through loss, anyone who's experiencing grief and anxiety. And the experiences that I went through over the 10 years, and I'm telling persons, don't follow my footpath with that. I find that it's so much better when you lean on your village, when you lean on friends, your family, your church persons, church people, and talk about what happened. And there is just no one can tell you how to grieve. And actually, how I grieve initially, that was how I handle it. So I don't judge myself for that, and I don't judge anybody else who choose to grieve that way. You really have to grieve the best way you know how to grieve, because there's no 1, 2, 3 step. There's no book to tell you how to grieve. You have to grieve how you're comfortable grieving, and there's no period, no length. Like, you shouldn't say, okay, you have 2 years, and then people would say to you, you're not over that yet. No, it's not like that, because it's 10 years for me. And there's still things that I choose not to speak about that still hurts my heart. And they have people who would carry things on, much longer. But the difference is, when you think about the situation, the incident, if your pain is less than what it was at the beginning, then you know you are healing. But if I think about the situation now and I still have that sharp pain, that agony and anguish, then I know I'm not making progress. The whole thing is, you want to make progress. So that's how I came about to the conclusion that I need to write this book, because I have other books I'm working on, but I knew that this was my first book. I had to get this out of my system, because it was just weighing me down. It was weighing me down. So I had to, it was therapy for me. It was really therapy. So
Wow.
that's it in a nutshell.
Wow, thank you for sharing that with us, your journey.
And our condolences on the
Yeah,
passing of
seriously.
Aaron, your
Yeah.
son.
Yes.
I do have a question for you. What audience specifically did you curate this book for? I know you touched on it a bit, but can
Yeah.
you elaborate?
So to me, like, persons were asking me, how do you intend to launch this book? What audience? This book is ministry. So my intention is, what I would want to do, that I am praying about, and I know God would open up doors, because I just place everything in his hands. I just don't want to, like, just have a regular launch. I want to actually go into churches and speak about the book. And if persons choose to purchase, then they go ahead, because this book speaks to the individual, the family, the husband, the wife, a mother who has lost her child, a husband who has lost his wife, anyone who's grieving over anything. It can even be infidelity and divorce. Anyone who is suffering, who is grieving, who is in pain because of prolonged loss, because of sudden loss. And what is important about it is, I am telling you, this is what I experienced. Like, I am not sharing a story that someone else told me. I am sharing my personal story over the last 10 years and explaining to you how I lost like, I went to bed um Mother's Day night, and my son was alive. He was laughing. He was fine. He was well. And early that morning, because we don't know exactly when he passed, if it was before 12 o'clock, which would have been Mother's Day, or after 12, would have been the Monday, the day after. But on his death certificate, they have to put it, the Monday, because that's when we found him or whatever. But I am telling you from my personal experience that my son was healthy. I mean, minus his disabilities. He was fine. He wasn't ill when we went to bed. We kissed him good night. Everything was great. My life was fine. I had a perfect little life. And then to wake up the next morning and find my son dead. Okay. So that was like a shock. That was tragedy. So I am telling my persons who would read this book, this is what I experienced as a woman, as a mother, the tragedy, and then the road that I chose. I wouldn't highly recommend it to anyone. And then, most importantly, in the last chapters of the book, I outline the lessons that I learned as a result of the road that I chose to take. And you can you can glean and learn from the lessons that I went through. Sometimes, persons would like to experience things for themselves. Because I always use the example with my children, and I will say to them, don't go down this particular road because this road around the corner you cannot see, but there's a big pothole there. And if you go around that corner, you're going to fall in the hole. Some people will listen to you and they will take your advice to say, okay, I trust Dr. Brooks. She went through that. And if I go around that corner, I will fall in the pothole. And then you have persons who will be like, I got to experience that for myself. And they will go around the corner and they will fall in the pothole, So I am telling persons, this is what I went through as a mother, as a woman, as a working person. And these are my experiences. And these are the lessons that I've learned to help you along your journey. If you are experiencing grief and sadness, whatever form it may come in, because it does not discriminate, God did it for me. When I really, really thought that it was my end, I couldn't see a brighter day coming. I couldn't see beyond the day that I was in. I didn't see tomorrow. I felt hopeless. I was angry with God. Why? Because I am a believer. I am a Christian. So is my husband and my whole family. And Aaron died at the age of 11. And for 11 years, we fasted, prayed. Every time I heard there was a miracle service, listen, Doc, I went to Columbus, Ohio, when Rod Parsley had healing service.
Wow.
I stood in the line for hours in Miami with Benny Hinn.
Wow.
I only had to hear that there was a healing service somewhere. I booked my ticket and I was gone. We fasted, we prayed. I had scriptures all over my house. I sowed seed. Somebody gave me a miracle healing cloth handkerchief. I had miracle water. I had everything because I was so determined that the God that I serve, and I read the scriptures. He was wounded for my transgressions, bruised by my iniquities. And I took all these healing scriptures. I just firmly believed, and you couldn't move me from that position, that God was going to heal my son and he was going to be 100% okay, and that he was going to be the miracle in the Turks and Caicos Islands where people will know that I serve a mighty God. But it didn't happen that way. And so I was angry with God. And after Aaron died, I didn't know what to say to God. Like, I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know what to say in prayer because I felt like God let me down. He disappointed me. He went against his word because I firmly believed his word, and he's a healer and he's all of this. And so I was angry. And so we have to realize that we are human beings first. You understand? And sometimes we want to act so super spiritual as if nothing bothers us. And we walk around with this plastic smile on our faces as if God did not make us with emotions. Like, we cannot say exactly how we feel. Like, if you are hurt, you are hurt. If your emotions is damaged, it's damaged. Say it. And so for the longest time, I walked around as if I was Superwoman. Aaron died on a Monday. When I stayed home Tuesday, but Wednesday morning, I was back to work. I couldn't take it. The house was quiet. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was just home crying and weeping and crying, and it was depressing. And I said to myself, I can't stay home for 6 months like this. This will drive me crazy. And I went back to work. And when I went to work, everybody was shocked. They was like, why is Angela back to work? And so people came to these classes, oh, how are you? You know, I don't want to, every time people came to me with that, I know they meant well, but it just made me feel bad. You know, I just wanted to forget everything. I didn't enjoy coming back home because his room was empty. And so I just pretended. I just pretended for years as if like nothing was bothering me, everything was fine. Let's go on with normal life. So my targeted audience is for people who are experiencing any form of grief, any form of pain, despair, wherever it originated from. And I think that the book is going to be a great help because I didn't travel the perfect road. I traveled the human road.
Wow, that's powerful. Well
Yeah.
said. Our hearts are moved just by hearing your story. And um, you are a great motivation, instrument to others who have lost their child or anyone that is dear to them. We're going to take a short break on Pathway to Success, and we'll be right back.
Did you pick out this detergent all by yourself? So cute.
It's half the size and it's half the plastic. And there's nothing cute about unnecessary plastic. Christy, the average person generates over 200 pounds of plastic a year. And there are 329 million of us in the US alone.
Do you want paper or paper? Yeah.
7th generation Easy Dose laundry detergent. Half the size, half the plastic, all the clean.
So where were we?
The playoff.
Oh, yes. Only a handful of teams remained, hailing from kingdoms far and wide across the college football land, all vying for a spot in the playoffs. Each team led by a great coach, fearless players, and defended by the loyalist of fans. Soon, they would take part in an epic playoff battle for the right to call themselves national champions. And to the victor go the spoils, a beautiful trophy, a grand celebration, and bragging rights that stand the test of time.
And then what happened?
We'll find out soon.
Ready? All clear. Come on out.
Chewie.
You know what's going on?
This ship is now under the command of the First Order.
Live your Star Wars story in a new 2-night adventure.
You know what I've come for.
Only at Walt Disney World Resort.
Welcome back to Pathway to Success. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Hunter, and we have Shanice with us, and we have, oh my God, industrious, well-written, well-learned Dr. Angela Brooks with us, sharing with us. My co-host literally went backstage and almost started crying after hearing, your detailed story of what you went through and what motivated you to write this great book.
Yeah. Listen, when I finished writing the book, I sent the book to one of my friends. She's also an author. Her name is Sabrina Green, and she has some books out as well. And she told me, she said, listen, I read the first chapter and I put the book down. I don't think she's ever completed beyond chapter 1, because when I say it was really raw, emotionally like driven, it was. And my children said to me, Mommy, you think anybody's gonna read this book? Is there anything happy about this book? I said, it's doc, it's just what I lived. It's the truth of what I lived. You understand? And people today, globally, not only here in the Turks and Caicos, but globally, we are going through a lot. A lot is happening in the world. People are dying. People are sick. We are going through so many different things. And we need to know that no matter what we go through, God has not abandoned us. And one of the chapters that I have in the book, it says, it's captioned, "Where was God in all of this?" Because I felt like that song, I don't know, that poem, it said when you're going through the darkest time in your life and so many different things was happening and you looked around, footprints in the sand, that's what it named. And you look back and you only see one set of footprints and you were like, where was God? And he said, those were the times that when I was carrying you. And one of my chapters in the book is, where was God in all of this? And it was when God was carrying me, because I believe for what my family and I went through, had it not been for God and his grace and his mercy and love, although I didn't feel it at the time, I really should have been somewhere in Sandilands, locked away, because what I went through as a parent, not only with the death of Aaron, but his whole journey. I see my cousin Allison Ingham is on, and she's saying, like, I remember that day, because she also has a daughter with special needs. I mean, I felt like I went to hell's gate. I knocked on the door and Satan let me in. I went through a lot with Aaron. I was airlifted. Aaron was airlifted twice to America for medical purposes when I thought he was going to die. There was one time he had to remove all his teeth out of his mouth because of abscess. And the doctor told me, he said, he asked me if I'm sure that I want to go through the surgery, because there was a 50-50 chance that he wouldn't make it because of his seizure condition. And they had to sedate him to do the surgery. And I said yes, because Aaron cried. I don't know, Aaron probably cried like for 8 years. He was in so much different pain. And we couldn't figure out what was wrong with him because he didn't talk. And so when I checked his mouth one day and I saw the abscess in his mouth, I got a plane ticket and I flew out of Grand Junction immediately to Miami. And that's what they told me. And after the surgery, when I went into the room, I saw my child. In the book, I said he looked like Rocky after the Russian had already beaten him up. His mouth was just swollen and bloody, and he was just pining away because he probably had cried so much that he didn't have any more strength to cry. It was incidents and scenes like that it just broke me as a parent. And I always cried out to God, and I said, I wanted the pain to be transferred to me. Let me carry the pain, because I'm able to say what is hurting me. I can take medication. We just never knew what was wrong with him. And I went through so much with that child, and there are people out there who have special needs children too, who are going through a lot of pain. But I want them to know that in the midst of it all, I believe, just like how I'm breathing in oxygen and I cannot see the oxygen, but I know I'm breathing it in because I'm living. That's how strong my faith is in God. And when God said all things work together for good, for those who love the Lord and for those who are called according to his purpose in Christ Jesus, I said to God, I don't know what good can come out of this, especially after Aaron died. Like, what good can come out of this? But I trust you. And when the Bible said, rejoice always, always pray, and everything give God thanks, because he said in everything, he didn't specify and say only in the good things. He said everything. I humbled my heart and I just had to give it up. And I said, God, I give it over to you. I give everything over to you. But there were times I gave it over to him and I took it back. I gave it over to him and I took it back, But I just had to trust God in the midst of it all. And I firmly believe that when you go through situations, and it's never good situations, but when you go through trying times, it is never just for you. Never.
I'm glad you said that. It is so true. And this is your testimony. This is your journey. You're putting out a piece of you to help other people. And honestly, I'm so honored that you're even sharing this story with us and with the public. It does cater to people who are grieving from different scenarios. So that this is really good. How can people get this book? Because this seems like an instrument or a tool that we all need access to.
We are.
Everybody's going to need this at some point. How
right now we have the pre-orders going on, and I did share the information. Maybe your producer have it because I shared it with Faye. We have the pre-orders going on right now, so you can pre-order your book. And then on the 30th of June, because I'm going to be doing a pre-release. Like I am an island girl. So I love my country. I love Turks and Caicos. So I am doing a pre-release on Grand Trunk. So the books will be available here on island in about 2 weeks. I'm traveling. I'm going to be bringing my books back with me. So I can get my office copies. I'm going to be bringing the books back with me. All those persons who pre-order, they're going to get it originally hand autographed. And then the other persons who order outside of the Turks and Caicos will get it via Amazon. And it's going to go full out on Amazon on the 30th of June. But I have the pre-order link, and my son just posted up on the chat. Yeah, so you can order your book.
Good job, son.
Good job, son. Good job.
Yes, but listen, because my family next to God, and I always share this with people because we have a marriage platform as well, and I'm an advocate for family and everything like that. Next to God, who's like the umbrella and the supreme being in our lives, my family is my oxygen. They are everything. And this book is a family project because for every step of the way, I had to share stories that involved them. When Aaron passed, I had all my children. My husband and I have 6 children. So I had to share details that included them. So I needed their permission because it was sensitive as well. They are helping me with the launch, the promotion. Like I'm going to have my book launch on the 13th of July here on Grand Trunk, and then I'll be branching off into Provo. But like I said, it's ministry. Yeah. It is ministry because if nothing else, people here, I want persons who are listening to this afternoon and who will be listening later on. God is no respecter of persons. He don't love me any differently than he loves you and Shanice. He loved all of us the same. And if he delivered me, and he did it for me when I thought there was no tomorrow, he can do it for you. You might be in a situation where you feel as if you are at the bottom of the barrel, as if you have no other hope. Sometimes when we lose loved ones, we feel guilty about enjoying the day. Like people expect for you to be in mourning like for eternity. And if you have a good moment and you smile or you go out somewhere, you have a good time, you feel guilty as if you're not supposed to continue with your life. That is not true. That is not so. And that's one of the lessons that I had to learn. It's okay to enjoy your life, because what I had to realize, Doc, is that, listen, when we have children, we think and we are under the misapprehension that these children belong to us exclusively and we hold them tight to our chest. Children enter our lives for a purpose and for a season. Not only children, all of us.
Yeah.
You know, we are instruments of God. We are here for a purpose and for a season. Unfortunately, everybody want to go to heaven. Nobody want to die. When you're time, it's the truth. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but you hear anybody talking about death? No. When Aaron's purpose was manifested and it came to an end, God took him. I thought that God was going to go another way. I wanted him to be with us like for the duration for his 70 years, like God promised. But his time and his season was done. And that's God gave us all an agenda. When we are born, we have a beginning date and we have an expiration date. And I'm happy that we do not know the expiration date, because we will be living in anxiety. Because, you know, but I had to accept it. I had to say, Lord, you know, Aaron was your child. And although I felt like the enemy snatched him away from me, it's not, the enemy can't take life. He can't take it. Only God can give life, and only God can take it away, because the word of God says that nothing happens without God's permission. So even though what the enemy meant for harm, God is turning it around for his glory. And people will be delivered when they read this book. People are going to have renewed hope when they read this book. They're going to know that God is a savior. He's a deliverer, and he can do it for them. And they're going to live again. Amen. And they're going to live again. Yes.
Wow. That's a great way to close this. She just hit it right. That was said so perfectly. Wow. This is kind of fun.
Very heavy.
Good.
And Doc, you remember I told you last year, I said when I write this book, I promise you a book. So
yes, I was just about to ask that.
Sign.
Yes. Don't worry about it. I know where you are. I'm gonna be in your area in August. Right. I don't know where you're gonna be.
Oh, you'll be here. Oh, you'll be here in August. That's good. Then we're gonna have you on the show live again in studio. So get ready for that.
I'm gonna be in Orlando.
Your favorite.
Yeah,
so we're excited to have you right in the show, sitting right here.
So I'm going to bring your book. I promise you, I'm going to bring your book. I was going to give it to Faye, but now I'm going to hold on to it. Bring it. I will bring it for you.
West Palm Beach, Florida. Come on, bring
it.
Yes.
My brother lives in West Palm. Remember I told you that. And when I gave him your address, he said, that's like 10 minutes away from my house. So that's awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes. So I'm so happy. Yeah.
I want to thank you. You have always inspired us to the next level. You have always been someone who, for both times you have been on the show, you have always touched the hearts of myself as the host and she's here, but also others that watch. And you have always done a great interview. Indeed, you're such a great asset to humanity.
Thank you.
And we're so happy, and I'm so proud to say that you'll be right here on the set on Pathway to Success in studio live.
Yes, I hope Shanice is also present too.
Yes.
I'll be here for sure.
Yes, that'll be awesome.
And what we'll do on that day, I think we'll have people come in the studio to meet you, sign your books, and get purchase books and get to meet you in person and talk to you.
That's awesome. We're
going to set a big thing together for you. So you're going to have a book signing there, you're going to have a book signing in the United States of America. So just want to let you know. But I want to thank you, Dr. Angela Brooks, for your inspiration, for inspiring us. And thank you for writing that book, which will help us as well as others to deal with whatever grief that may come our way.
Yes, in Jesus' name.
This was amazing.
Yes.
I'm
sure thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Yes. Shanice, like she's wiping away a tear. I shed many tears. That's okay.
Shed many tears. I'm trying to. But you're a winner and you're a strong woman. And I want to say hello.
Yes.
And
victorious.
to the rest of the
And
in In closing, I want to say it's on Pathway to Success. God has no problems. All he has is solution. Have a great week from us here at Pathway to Success.
Goodbye.